Hey guys, StayFrostzy here. I'm currently making this video to kind of just state some of my opinions on the recently implemented Arena on the testing server. Like many of you guys, I've eagerly been waiting Arena for many tests and was overjoyed to see the announcement. Unfortunately, upon trying it firsthand, I must say I was extremely disappointed. With the announcement stating a 5v5 Arena backed by a rating system, I naturally just kind of assumed the old days of WoW, where 5v5 and 3v3, you'd fight each other, one team dies, the match is over. It was really just a death match with no respawns and no gear advantage, and it really just rewarded pure skill and team communication. Upon playing the Albion arena, unfortunately, I must say this is far from what the arena is. As for the footage you're currently watching, it's just some gameplay of me and my buddy Apex queuing as a pug, and we were merely just trying to outline some of the flaws in the current arena. In this match, you'll see that by avoiding the majority of combat and playing extremely mobile 1v1 strong builds, we nearly beat a pre-made 5-man Say My Name squad. Basically, the strategy was just forfeit all combat and just run to each point, trying to back cap where they weren't. And it ended up being a pretty close match. You'll see in the end. I think we're maybe down 10 or so points around there. I'm not sure. And I want to say we landed maybe 2 kills as a team total to about 30 on their side, with it still being an extremely close match. And this really just kind of highlights some of the points I'm going to go into later in this video. So as I mentioned, our strategy was completely revolving around just capturing the points for the 10-point score each time. The basis of this strategy really kind of worked based on 3 current game flaws of the arena that we feel should be addressed or changed in some way. Beginning with the first, and this maybe might be the largest issue, is the fact that kills are only worth 1 point. And in a 150-point game, 1-point kills are really negligible. We were having our team just spawn killed down at the bottom while Apex and I just capped points, and still it really didn't feel to make any difference. And so by not having the points behind kills, that shifts all focus onto the capture points, and which in my opinion this is a bit redundant, being that GVGs are already the source of an objective style PvP, and really Albion doesn't have a straight kind of deathmatch style of PvP. You may be able to argue Hellgates, however there is still the objectives of bosses, and there's mob pulling and things like that, a lot of outside factors. It's not just a straight up 5v5 of combat skill. Now, whether the objective versus deathmatch is up for discussion, that's probably somewhat of a matter of opinion. But looking at the arena with kills being so lowly weighted, it really is putting all the focus of the game into the capture points. And these capture points do have a couple very flawed mechanics. And these flaws, I would say, would just be the time that it takes to capture a point. You can see in this video that by camping right off respawn, many times throughout the match, Apex and I can just instantly cap the 2 top points with no opposition, just because merely the Say My Name's team can't get there fast enough or disengage the fight that they're having mid. And that creates a lot of issues for now. It promotes having 1v1 strong mobile builds because you merely can just run from point to point, and that kind of segues into the number of points with the distance between them. By having 3 points in a 5v5 match, this really causes your team to have to split up into small skirmishes over these points. And in many cases, you're not even going to make it to the point if they have a back capper that can beat, your 1v1 classes at the top. And so, in theory, you could even just run, 5 really mobile 1v1 builds, such as maybe you have a couple pairs of dual daggers with dash, things like that, and you run all sprint. And it does create some issues with usable abilities as well. You're never going to see players run things such as night boots or dodge roll because merely just a mobile team's going to outclass them to get to each capture point and take it before they can even respond with a fight. And maybe by toning down the number of points or the distance between them, you may avoid this and allow for teams to introduce all types of boot skills and multiple types of weapons. As for some of the solutions to these fairly prevalent issues, I have two what I would say are pretty reasonable ways to address these. My first and personal favorite solution would be to either remove capture points entirely and make it like a true arena. This would kind of get it away from the current battleground feel. However, this could lead to some questionable trolling comps that focus entirely on running or just not dying. So maybe you add a singular capture point. This would create a kind of place where it would draw players to a specific area and force engages over the fights. It also could come with some interesting matches for, if you're falling behind, you might peel back so your team doesn't die, but in that time, the enemy team could be, sustaining on the point and getting points with it. So maybe you only have your one life, and if you die, your team loses. But you can also maybe if you get 4 captures or something, the game also wins that way. This would force teams to feel the need to kind of engage even if it's not in their favor. So it could create some interesting matches, and I think that would put it more on kind of the deathmatch side of things, and would be really interesting and new to Albion. However, I do know that for some players, the battleground, more objective-based style of PvP is more appealing. So this is how the arena currently is. So my alternative solution would be keep the 3 capture points and the infinite respawn system. However, obviously some changes to this system are in order. The biggest concern is just the fact that right now the 1v1 mobile builds are really superior in these fights. And in a setting that's designed for 5v5, it feels really wrong to fight these small 1v1 or 2v1 fights. And when it is a 5v5 match, you would expect more of the kind of structured fights. So my best remedy to solve this lies in kind of 2 proposed changes. The first would be that capture points either need to have a longer capture time or be in closer proximity, or maybe a mixture of both. Because currently in many cases you reach the capture point just way too late if someone started there right when it respawned. And in many times you can't even contest because they've captured it by the time you run all that way. And that again, you look at the boot abilities, it really limits you. However, I really believe the root of the problem actually lies in how the capture points respawn. And so currently the system you can kind of see in this video is once all 3 points are captured, then a timer goes off and then all 3 pop up right at the exact same time. And that really encourages teams to kind of split up so they can cover 1, 2, maybe even 3 points, and they're fighting these small skirmishes over the points. And it takes away that kind of 5v5 mentality of arena. And if you change this mechanic to say maybe a 60-second cooldown upon being captured, so let's say both teams go mid, one gets forced out, the one team captures it, and then boom, it goes on the 60-second cooldown, and in 60 seconds that capture point is going to come back up. So both teams rotate to a new point, fight over that one, and it kind of causes this rotation where you can stay as a structured team. You'd have maybe 5v5, or you could do like some 4v4 fights here and there, send maybe one guy off to just take that kind of remaining point off to the side. But it's going to encourage more of like a team-based style versus these small little skirmishes where you might not have a healer, and it really opens up a lot more of builds that can be played, and you're not forced to run sprint on your boots or try to run as fast as you can at these points, because that you have that cooldown of time to buy where they're wasting their time if they're sitting over there. And I think that really kind of helps solve the issues in Arena right now. So for the sake of this video, getting a little lengthy, I'm going to wrap things up here. I'd like to just conclude with that I am really excited that Arena is being implemented into Albion. It's been a long time coming, and I think a lot of people are pretty excited about it. Now I do think it definitely needs some tweaks to be great. It does have some good potential behind it. I really do hope this video was helpful in outlining some of the potential areas of concern in the current implemented arena. But I would just like to say thanks if you made it all the way to the end of this video. I know it was a little long. But please, if you agree or even disagree, let me know in the comments. By just getting people to talk about it and getting the thread active and stuff like that, share with your friends, we might be able to just pull a response from the devs and kind of see where things are at and maybe create some change. So yeah, thanks.